I don't know. I've been in the scene since before the term riddim was even a thing, you know? So I just have like
Hmm.
so much to compare like today's state of dubstep, riddim, trench to like what I consider the glory days. So I
Hmm.
just like I don't know if it's because like things are genuinely better back then or if I'm just fucking jaded or some combination of the two. But yeah, I just
Wait,
feel like an
so
old man.
what was it called before it was called Riddim?
Um, okay, so we just called it like wonk or swamp or like hench because that sound came from Jake's like because like Jake's like pioneered that sound back in like 2008. So then
Mhm.
his record label was Hinch Records. So he's like,
Oh,
oh, that like that Hinch sound. A little bit of homework for anyone watching this. Jake's Warface. If you want to know where Rhythm came from, Jake's Warface. Like that's one of the tunes.
okay.
Jake's Warface. You heard it here.
But one of the problems I have with the music scene right now is I feel like a lot of sets lack identity. And I think it's because one of the things too is because like everything just gets released. You know what I mean? It gets released and then you see the Beatport numbers and then you see the Spotify numbers and the TikTok numbers. And then you're kind of like, all right, this is what I know statistically people want to hear. And
Mhm.
back in the day, you were the tastemaker. You decided what people wanted to hear. Like you had your own secret arsenal and you're like, hey,
Mhm.
I know my music taste is fucking awesome. That's why I get paid to do this. I'm going to put you on to something that you wanted to hear that you didn't even know that you wanted to hear. So
Mhm.
to go back to dubplate culture, it's like you'd make these tunes, either originals, remixes, or edits. And where dubplate culture actually comes from is from the vinyl days. So, you know, back then you had to press all the songs of vinyl. And then for the specific dub plates, like it was expensive, you know, it was
Mhm.
expensive and you can only play those dub plates maybe like 5 to 10 times before they broke, you know. So like they literally
Oh
were
wow.
like secret like secret fucking weapons, you know.
That's so
Mhm.
cool. I didn't know that it was an actual vinyl. I didn't
Yeah,
know
it
it
was
went
like
that far back.
that's how far back it went. That's why it's you know, it was a literal plate, you know, like
Okay.
so
Damn.
just keep there's just something that happens when you hear a song, especially when you're someone that goes to shows like all the time and you hear the build up, you're like, holy shit, like we never hear this. Like I don't know when the next time I'm gonna hear this is, you know?
Hmm.
And then as far as like sharing plates, it became kind of a respect thing, you know. It's like it's someone you looked up
Mhm.
to, kind of like I see what you're doing, I fuck with you, like here's a piece of me that you can have in your sets that like no one else has. It's kind of like a friendship thing, you know what I mean? Like friendship slash
Mhm.
respect, you know, it's kind of like knowing where you stand with certain people. And then it was a huge part of the culture when I was first coming up, but it just feels like something that's been kind of lost. And in doing so, I feel like a lot of songs that would have been anthemic back in the day, just like they have the potential to be an anthem. They just come out, and then the second they
Mhm.
come out, everyone just like listens to the song or plays the song out live until they're sick of it. You know, there isn't that like that scarcity that it's not special anymore, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally
Wait,
get that.
so
I mean,
how long have you been in the scene actually? Just so we can have it here on record.
Okay, I've been raving since 2009 and
okay.
I've been going to what we would call rhythm now or trench or whatever since 2012.
2012, how was it different back then? Like obviously besides the culture. Like what were the shows different?
So it's crazy because back then we would get one show a month. And I live in LA, like born and raised LA. And at the time, LA was the only spot where you could really go to a pop and underground show. And we got it
Mhm.
once a month, you know? And back then, too, if you saw a lineup, you're like, all right, man, like visas are tricky. A lot of these fools were not even having visas when they came, you know? So
Mhm.
it was like, you don't know if this fool's gonna get caught playing a dirty tour and like getting his, you
Yeah.
know, getting his access to this country or book. So
A dirty
basically,
tour. That's a term that I haven't heard for that.
yeah, that's what we used to call it back then. It's like, all right, this fool's dirty touring. Like, no, hey, you gotta like make it happen somehow. But if you get caught, like
You're
so
fucked.
you're fucked. Yeah. So since there's this it was just a sense of scarcity, you know, like you couldn't see underground shows, like you couldn't get
Mhm.
that sound very often. And more specifically, if that artist was on a lineup, you don't know the next time you're going to see them again. And more often than not, like if you did see them, it'd be a year and a half, 2 years before they came back to town, because that's just like how the scene was especially with underground dubstep, there really wasn't a market that would, justify bringing out these artists as much, bring out these artists as often as we're able to now. Like it just wasn't
Mhm.
there. So
Yeah,
since
that's
oh, sorry, what were you saying?
no, I was just gonna say that's a really interesting contrast to nowadays, where like I was just telling someone we have like 2 or 3 rhythm shows a week here in Denver, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, bam, like anything you could want, it's here. It's always gonna be here.
Yeah, I feel like you can relate to this as well, because I feel like Denver is similar to Los Angeles in the sense that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you can be on the same main street and there'll be 3 different
Mhm.
shows for the same genre going on at once. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. It's like, share the wealth, share the opportunity. But the fact that you can get 3 of your favorite artists like playing different shows 3 days a week, it's just something we didn't have 10 years ago.